Well, hi there, and welcome back to another episode of the All Around Growth Podcast. My name is Rob Kaiser, and I am your host. Today is Saturday evening, March 11th, 2023, and the indoor winter farmers market season is over, and that is what we are going to be talking about in today's episode. We're going to talk about the winter farmers market, the closure or the conclusion of it, and what lies ahead for the 2023 season. So if you are new to the podcast or returning to the show after a while, or maybe this is your first time listening, here's how this works. This is a show about personal growth and development through finding balance in life. And like I've said in past episodes, and I'll say it again, I am of the opinion that we cannot fully grow and develop our full potential as human beings unless we live a balanced life in several different areas of our life. And accordingly, what we do with these discussions is we look at life and kind of compartmentalize it, for lack of a better term, taking an in-depth look at each area of life in each episode. We rotate through different topics, and those topics routinely are just like I said, a cycling series of shows on financial, physical, personal development, family, spiritual, social, and career. Generally talk about them in that order. For example, last week's episode was a topic in the social arena that was titled From Boomers to Zoomers, a discussion on different communication styles between generations. The week prior was an episode on the spiritual side of things titled Finding My Religion. The week prior to that was an episode on family titled The Brass Tacks on Family. So you get the gist. And today is an episode on career. And seeing as my career now is working here at, my career now is being self-employed, in all honesty. But the reality of my self-employment is that I am heavily involved in the family business. And the family business is York Meadow Farm. And what we do at York Meadow Farm is we create handcrafted batches of probiotic rich fermented foods and natural bath and body products. This is something that mom and dad has been doing for quite some time. And you can learn more about York Meadow Farm at yorkmeadowfarm.com. You can order online. I would definitely encourage you to do so. They are one of two sponsors of the show. So check it out at yorkmeadowfarm.com. All the bath and body products are made with natural oils, plant butters, and natural herbs and spices. Just botanicals in there, nothing but good stuff. And the fermented foods are paleo friendly, keto friendly. Just about everything is also vegan with the exception of the kimchi, but that is changing because some people have requested a vegan kimchi, and some of those who participate in a Lenten diet are not actively eating fish as well. So during Great Lent, it seemed like an appropriate time to experiment with a vegan kimchi. And maybe I will talk about that at some point in the future. But basically, the long and short of it is instead of using fish sauce, we decided to use a blend of tamari and seaweed called kombu or kelp. So anyways, rich in probiotics, the fermented foods are awesome. Eat a proper human diet. Just do it. So check it out, yorkmeadowfarm.com, and learn all about what we do and learn about who farms with us. And that's Cody Gray. Cody manages the market garden up there. I've done an interview with Cody in the past on the show. You can learn more about Cody there too. And while we're talking about show sponsors, I would also like to mention Food Forest Farms, who makes the show possible in the way that it takes place now, which is live streaming on Facebook, live streaming on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and all the places. So if it wasn't for the help of Food Forest Farms, we wouldn't be doing this the way that we are doing this now. And if it wasn't for the encouragement of Food Forest Farms and a lot of the community out there, and when I say the community, I mean you, the listeners of this show. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be doing things the way that we are doing them now. The reason that we sell online, the reason that we got moving in the direction that we did was in large part because of the inspiration and motivation to do so and the knowledge shared with us from you. So I am very grateful to Food Forest Farms for giving us the ability to stream, to take the show in new directions. And if you want to learn more about Food Forest Farms, check out foodforestfarms.com, the home of air roasted specialty coffee, a fun hip camp, and a cozy Airbnb. Many thanks to Brian at Food Forest Farms, foodforestfarms.com. And with that said, let's get into the show. All right. This year, what we have done is we have been participating in an indoor farmers market at Boyert's Greenhouse and Farm. And that has been a great experience. Boyert's Greenhouse and Farm is located in Medina County. And this year, there were approximately 20 vendors at each market. And the beautiful thing about the different vendors is there was produce, eggs, baked goods, pastries, cookies, meats, chicken, poultry, beef, turkey, pasture raised, all good stuff from a lot of good people. And we had an opportunity to connect with new vendors, and not just new vendors, but new customers as well. And honestly, we went into this market not really knowing what to expect, not really having too many expectations at all since it is the wintertime. But the reality is the market exceeded our expectations. We had some great sales, and it was a fantastic experience. I am deeply grateful for the invitation to participate at Boyer's Market. I am incredibly I've been there before. I've been to Boyer's Greenhouse and Farm. I'm somewhat familiar with the operation there, but I was very impressed with how they coordinated the events, how they coordinated with the vendors, and I was very impressed with the turnout of the customers that showed up. It seemed like a win-win-win for everybody. Customers got the experience of a farmer's market in the wintertime. Boyert's got the experience of having increased customers come in the wintertime for the farmer's market and generate some sales during a slow time of year at a nursery and garden center. And vendors had an opportunity to sell product at a slow time of year when there's generally not many farmers markets taking place. There were a total of 6 farmers markets, and we participated in 5 of them. We missed the first one on account of a death in the family, and we attended a funeral on that very first Saturday, the 14th of January, but we were there for the 28th of January, the 11th, 25th of February, and ultimately the 11th of March. So actually it was 5 markets. We were present for 4 of them. And we were blown away by the turnout. We were just blown away by everything. Um, quite frankly, the very first market on January 28th was the best market we've ever had in our history of doing farmers markets. So, yeah, needless to say, our expectations were exceeded. That was the best market we've ever had to date. It was the best market of the winter season, followed only by today's market. Today was exceptional as the market season drew to a close. There was just a flurry of activity. It was awesome, and just a lot of gratitude from all the vendors, a lot of gratitude from the Boyert family for, and to all of the vendors for helping them, just generate more business, and a lot of gratitude from the customers for, and to all of us for being there to provide them with fresh produce, locally made goods, all sorts of stuff during the colder months when generally these things aren't taking place. So, yes, it is definitely sad to say goodbye to the cozy environment of these indoor markets, which were taking place in their greenhouses, their heated greenhouses at Boyert's. But there is plenty to look forward to in terms of what's coming up this season in terms of farmers markets, plural. So as spring comes, and we're talking about spring coming just around the corner. We have events that are coming up in early May is when they begin, and we will be we'll be at a couple different places this year, and where we will be first and foremost is going to be the Medina Farmers Market. Okay, so we will be at the Medina Square Farmers Market, where we have been for quite some time. Mom and Dad first started attending this farmers market in 2011, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 2012. But either way, they've been there for about 10 years. And I've worked those markets on and off with them over the years. More often than not, I would help them set up. I would come home. I would do some work here. I'd go up there, help them break down. Sometimes I'd stick around, help them sell during the market. Sometimes I would not. It really kind of depended on the nature of the situation. But a little bit about this market. The market in Medina started in 2005 under the guidance of the Medina County Commissioner. And ultimately in 2007, there were, several markets that came under the management of the Ohio State University Extension Office in downtown Medina. And at that time, the number of vendors and the types of products that were available increased at the market. And in 2010, the Medina County Medina or Main Street Medina took over the management of the market, and basically grew the market into what it is today. And the year after Main Street Medina took over management of the market, that is when York Meadow Farm got involved in the market. So that's where we've been for a few years. There was a period of time where there was some uncertainty about the Medina Square Farmers Market. We ended up experimenting with another market for a couple of seasons. And this was all during COVID times when things got really strange. And but ultimately, it worked out for the best because Medina now supports two different farmers markets. And I think that's a wonderful thing because we have the market on the square, which involves a lot of different types of people, people who are selling spaghetti sauces, people who are selling hot sauces, breads, soaps, all kinds of things. And then the farmers market of Medina County is almost exclusively produce. And there's some other things there like kettle corn and knife sharpening and stuff like that. There's a lot of same things at each market. But the reality is, this town in Medina, which has approximately 50,000 people in Northeast Ohio, Medina County, has the ability to support two different farmers markets. And combined, there are, at peak season, about 70 different vendors. And the beauty of it is that these two markets in Medina are maybe a 6-7 minute drive from each other. So you can have the best of both worlds if you're a customer and you live in or around the Medina area. You don't have to pick one or the other. You can attend both. And honestly, when not everyone, but people ask about the reason why there's two different markets, I love to encourage attendance at both markets, because why not support everyone doing everything? Because sometimes you can't find everything that you want at the single market. So, but luckily you can find everything you want and need at both. And if you play your cards right and time it right, then you can get to both markets due to their proximity within one another. So that is very nice. And as far as besides the Medina Square Market, where we're going to be experimenting with a couple of new markets. But first of all, before I talk about the new markets, what I'd like to talk about is the Tremont Farmers Market. So we first went to the Tremont Farmers Market, which is up in Cleveland, last year for the last three markets of the season. And as it turns out, we had a very good experience up there. We were received very well by the community in Tremont. And, much like many other farmers markets, there are a bunch of producers. Cody was the one that actually encouraged us to check out the Tremont Farmers Market. Cody is a vendor at the Tremont Farmers Market as well. Cody is also a vendor at the Farmers Market of Medina County. And, he encouraged us to check it out. So as we continued to grow and scale up production last year, we jumped on board for the last three markets and had a very, very good experience there. So this year, not only will we be doing the Medina Farmers Market on Saturdays, we will also be doing the Tremont Farmers Market every Tuesday. And that is a market that takes place from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And that starts, that starts on May 16th. And the first farmers market in Medina starts on May 20th. But prior to that, there is a series of events called Walkabout Tremont. And what Walkabout Tremont is it is on the second Fridays of May through August in the Tremont neighborhood along Professor Avenue. And basically what we've got is, this is something new. And, up until this point, I'm still actually in the process of submitting the application for all of these markets with North Coast Promotions, who is handling all of these newer markets. And so it's actually good for me to take a look at this, because it sounded like it might be a good fit for us, and it might be a good fit for us because this gives it showcases the best of Tremont's creative, diverse, and walkable neighborhood the second Friday of each month. Now it's once a month, and as far as I can tell, what we've got going on there is creative vendors from many disciplines, including but not limited to visual artists, photographers, sculptors, jewelers, fiber artists, mixed media artists, artisans, and craft persons of all kinds, as well as small nonprofits. Now, this, just in reading this may not be the optimal type of market for us. However, once a month on a Friday for 4 months, I think it might be a good opportunity to see what we can do and get more exposure in that neighborhood for people who can't necessarily make it to a farmer's market in on a Tuesday afternoon. You know, a lot of people have some difficulty making it to farmers markets on these weekdays. There's a lot of weekday markets, even up in Cleveland, outside the Cleveland Clinic. There is a farmer's market that takes place around noon. I'm only aware of that because at times I've had appointments up in Cleveland at the Cleveland Clinic, and I've seen our friends over at Richardson Farms up there. And, you know, that seems like an odd time for a market in my humble opinion, but what do I know? I've never coordinated markets. I don't know how this works, but I believe that the people in Tremont, the particular demographic there, would appreciate what we have to offer in terms of fermented foods. And like I said, while I am self-employed and this episode is about career, my primary client, if you will, is York Meadow Farm. And what we are talking about with regard to York Meadow Farm is, you know, my involvement with them. Yes, they are my primary client, and I spend the bulk of my time working for them, supporting them, and I do so predominantly with the sales and production of the fermented foods, along with all of the marketing and scheduling and everything else associated with the bath and body products as well, at least online. I hope to, at some point down the road, get more involved with that with Mom and learn the craft from her. But until I've got a good handle on the actual production and sales of the market or of the fermented foods rather, and do one full season with 2 markets and a lot of these other pop-up events like this Walkabout Tremont, for example, then we'll see what happens. But in addition to Walkabout Tremont, one of the things that we are going to also do is an event here at Goldhorn Brewery. We're going to do an Oktoberfest here at Goldhorn Brewery. And what is interesting to note about Goldhorn Brewery is the fact that it is, well, let's just see what Goldhorn Brewery has to say. It's located in St. Clair's Superior's Hub 55 complex, named for the famed mountain goat of Slovenian folklore, in homage to our neighborhood roots. Goldhorn Brewery began operations in July 2016, and with a robust rotating draft list, hearty feel-good food, and private event spaces, they aim to be a community staple for visitors and residents alike. So what the deal is, there is an Oktoberfest in October. Like, what a novel idea, right? And what's interesting about the Oktoberfest is that many of these Oktoberfests locally are in September. This one is not. It's in October 21st. And again, this is going to be a good opportunity for us to just get more exposure in areas where we've never been and doing things that we've never done with people who may not be aware of what we have to offer. So, a lot of times Oktoberfest, sauerkraut, the two go hand in hand. And we're going to go ahead and give this a try and see what we can't do up in that neighborhood. Now, in addition to the farmers market on the square in Medina, the Tremont Farmers Market in Tremont, Walkabout Tremont on every second Friday, this event in October, we are also going to experiment with the Pinecrest Farmers Market on the last 3 seasons of the month. And Pinecrest is a farmers market on Wednesday. And so the last those last 3 months or those last 3 weeks of August are going to be somewhat hectic. We're going to have a market on Tuesday. We're going to have a market on Wednesday. And then we're going to have a market on Saturday. And I have done 3 markets in a week before. And my friends, I will tell you, it makes for a long week. However, we are trying to grow. We are trying to expand and get the word out there about who we are and what we do. And the only way to do it is to hustle, hustle, hustle. So, there's a larger event that also is taking place in Cleveland, the traditional Cleveland Oktoberfest and craft market that takes place over 2 weekends. And that, while that sounded interesting, this particular event at Goldhorn Brewery seems a little bit more up our alley because it's a one-time event. And, we discussed the other Oktoberfest event at the Cuyahoga County Fairgrounds, but based on everything else that we engaged in and the cost associated with those events, we decided no, we are going to opt out of the Cleveland Oktoberfest. We're going to do this mini Oktoberfest at Goldhorn Brewery and see how that goes before we dip our toes into the waters at Pinecrest. So Pinecrest should be an interesting experience. I've never been there. I've heard some things about it, and it is located in Orange Village. So we're going to see how that goes. And hopefully during those 3 months, not only will we be able to meet the demands of customers at that time, but hopefully we will all be able to maintain our sanity with trying to keep up with everything that is required of someone who is participating in 3 markets. And that someone is not only me. I will be participating in 2 of these markets solo and certainly working with my parents on Saturday at the Medina Square Farmers Market. So, guys, that's what we have in store for the upcoming season, and I'm very much looking forward to it. It's going to be an exciting year. There's a lot going on, and I don't really know what to say other than that. The winter was, like I said, the winter exceeded our expectations. The winter was it was great. I have a lot of gratitude to the Boyert family for hosting this event, for inviting us up. I have a lot of gratitude for the customers that have been with us over the years. And I also have a lot of gratitude for all the new customers that we gained in this experience at Boyert's. And that was a little bit of incentive to go out and dip our toes in some of these new markets in an effort to further broaden our reach and see if we can't continue growing the business in the way that we are growing. It's we are going to look at diversifying somewhat as we continue to grow, because there is a bit of limitation as far as what we can do in the kitchen with the way that we have things structured now. But at the same time, we don't want to stray too far from what it is that we do. At York Meadow Farm, the idea that we have, and the little tagline that we came up with was educate, nourish, healthy. We do so with the fermented foods, nourishing you from the inside out, and with the bath and body products, nourishing you on the outside. This, like I said, the soaps, everything is all natural, and they're just good products. Mom's done a good job doing what she does. I hope to learn more. That seems like a very appropriate activity to engage in during the winter time when we're not busy cranking up ferments. But this year we took a bit of an extended winter break, trying to figure out how to navigate what we were going to do this year, and also just simply decompress from last year, because we did some other pop-up markets towards the end of the last year, experimenting with new things, trying different local events, and those didn't really seem to be as productive as we were hoping. But hey, you never know unless you try. So, this year we're going to take a little bit of a different approach to what we're doing. And for those of you who are interested in learning more about all of the places that I've discussed, I definitely have linked to all the markets and Goldhorn Brewery in the description, and we'll do so in the show notes as well. And for those of you who are interested in why the show is structured the way that it is, in terms of financial, physical, personal development, family, spiritual, social, and career, that framework comes from Dan Miller's goal setting workbook. And I've linked to that goal setting guide in the show notes and description below as well. That helped me immensely with regard to setting goals, trying to find some structure in my life. And I linked to it because it's a free download. I would definitely encourage you to check it out and see what it can do for you. I think there's a tremendous amount of value in there, and that is the way that he has broken down the goal setting process by, in effect, compartmentalizing life into those seven different areas, looking at life 3 years out, 1 year out, and then ultimately what we can do today to make that all happen. And it was that goal setting workbook that got me talking about goals in the show in the first place. And ultimately I decided to simply utilize that format for the show moving forward. And with that said, like I said, today's show is going to be on or was on career. And a lot of the ideas of the show and the show topics come from the Telegram group. they sometimes come from social media. But quite frankly, I'm terrible with social media. I'm terrible with the promotion of this show. My focus is on the farm and trying to grow that. And it's less so on the podcast, but this is a passion project of mine and I will continue to do it. It's changed considerably over the years and it will likely change some more as time goes on. It may, and we'll talk about that more as time goes on. We'll talk about the change to the show as time goes on. I've alluded to it in the past. It may not be the historic aspect of the show, may not remain on podcast players in the way that it currently is. However, moving forward, all shows will be live streamed at the very least on YouTube. And as long as the support remains from Food Forest Farms, we will continue to stream on all these other platforms like Twitter, like Twitch, Facebook, and all of these other things. So again, many thanks to Food Forest Farms for the support and the ability to bring the podcast in new formats to new people out there on these various platforms. So again, foodforestfarms.com. Check it out if you are interested in, specialty roasted coffee. And if you're out in the Pacific Northwest and want to check out a cool hip camp and a fun Airbnb, then, check it out as well. Foodforestfarms.com. Check us out, yorkmeadowfarm.com. And with that said, we're going to return to we rotate through these topics. Next week's episode will it will be on a financial topic, and the actual topic has yet to be decided, but I'm thinking it might be something along the lines of fear involving financial security when starting something new. Because oftentimes when we start something new, what needs to happen is a lot of the money that we make goes back into the business. Our personal income decreases. We have to make some significant changes in our life to accommodate the changes in our life. And that can be a scary proposition for a lot of people. And I think fear is one of the big things that prevents a lot of people from moving forward with the dreams that they have. It certainly did with me for quite some time. And maybe I will talk about that and how I address those fears in order to move forward with what I'm currently doing now. So with that, guys, I think that is going to wrap it up for today. And, I appreciate you tuning in. I look forward to catching you next week. And as always, this is Rob Kaiser, and thank you.
In a world of pain, what can I do? The needs are many, and answers a few. People turn away, and I wonder why. If I can help somebody, then I want to try. People may think that it's odd that I believe in friendship and love. And truth is always the best way to the world that may seem odd. I'm an odd fellow. I'm an odd fellow. I'm an odd fellow. If we stand together, we'll never fall. We can make a difference and answer the call. and we can help somebody along the way. People may think that it's odd that I believe in friendship and love. Truth is always the best way to the world that may seem odd. I'm an odd fellow. You're an odd fellow.